have a full-time job, a salaried media job, where I can spend a whole week looking into Darko and going down all these crazy avenues and routes. I couldn't do that if I was a freelance journalist or kind of just doing it on the side. Anytime we publish anything on Darko, we have our in-house lawyer go over it with a fine-tooth comb just to ensure we are in a safe legal position. So we're always confident by the time the story is published. Someone can threaten to sue us, but at the end of the day, we're covered legally. So these are things that take a lot of money to do, a lot of money to produce this kind of journalism. So support your local journalists, your national journalists, international journalists. Go out there and support journalism.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, Dale.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right. Hazy, would you like to ask Pickle or us anything?
With the heights this particular individual rose to, and being in some of the most influential spaces of the last year, do you think it's inevitable that he'll resurface with that set of skills that he has?
So as far as what he knows, right, and of influential people and all the info that he has, I have no doubt that he has stuff of value. Now, nothing came out yet. That being said, if he wants to, I don't think his story is over because the information he has will probably be less relevant with time. So he's using it one way or the other now. He might be using whatever he has to buy quiet, or he might be coming out with a storm at some point. I really don't know. That being said, the part that I do know is that I wrote a story about Mario, and the story is if Mario is getting extorted by BZ. Mario did contact me back about the article. He offered a few corrections, saying that his company's audited and there's no laundry money or anything of that sort. However, he have not denied that he was extorted. He neither confirmed nor denied. So I don't know. Maybe that is something that you will be hearing about soon. As far as his relationship to the Trump campaign, he allegedly said that he was a subcontractor to a subcontractor that is providing legal advice to Trump's legal team. And he did provide, on multiple occasions, information that was later found out to be true that wasn't public. Whether he was just being smart and expecting things to happen that did happen, or had foreknowledge. In most cases, you can make either argument, but there are at least two cases where, for sure, he knew something that others didn't. He also kept fluctuating between being pro-Trump and against Trump, and in many cases, you would never know what he actually stands for because he's all over the place all the time. He's a chameleon. He, whatever you like, he likes, right? But when, if you remember, I don't remember the dates precisely, but there was a time where the tape of Trump speaking about his, nuclear secrets or so forth. At this particular time, he said he left his capacity as a legal advisor for Trump's legal team, and he said that the case against Trump was extremely strong because there was no benefit of the doubt since, according to him, he admitted to committing the crime, according to Ben's analysis. And another thing that, I know many people who are probably listening are not familiar, but Ben was speaking to actual real lawyers all the time on Twitter, and none of them questioned him. In fact, some of them would ask him for advice. He was on Mario Spaces with tens of thousands of people sometimes. I believe they had at some point 30,000 people, and, or maybe more. In Elon Spaces, 100,000 at a single time. But anyway, nobody, literally zero, no lawyer questioned his credentials as at least his knowledge of the law. That tells you how good he was. And I know that we all know that, but probably people listening are not aware.
Another thing I'd like to add on too is that anytime someone had suspicions of him or were on his tail, he was very persuasive in manipulation and putting almost a groupthink against people. And for Darko going forward, what I could speak on is just things from my personal experience. I've known Mr. Pickle, Sean, and a lot of those groups for a long time now before he showed up. And once he called me, once he figured out at the time I was in the service, he started bringing up very uncomfortable topics, thinking he could relate to me, because he would tell me, oh, no way, I'm IDF too. And I recall very vividly him saying to me how him and the boys would laugh at, shooting children across the border, thinking it was like a funny game, basically. And when he said that, I told him, like, don't talk to me, it's disgusting. Once he realized he kind of like crossed a boundary with me, and he just went full force within our small group of like people and would lie to others about me, saying like, oh, everyone, Sola's secretly a fascist, he's an anti-Semite, he's taking advantage of you. When in reality, it was the other way around. And I'm sure Mr. Pickle could speak on this. For when myself and Mr. Pickle, we had a debate. I forgot the topic, it was so long ago, but he privately reached out to both of us and lied to both of us, where he reached out to me and said, good job, Sola. You really crushed Mr. Pickle, or, that's his account name, Mr. Pickle. He's like, he didn't know what he was talking about at all. And then Omar, or Mr. Pickle, reached out to me and said like, hey, Ben said the same thing to me. He's like, good job, Mr. Pickle. You really crushed him. He didn't know what he was talking about. So he's definitely very trained in manipulation, gaslighting, and turning communities on people who suspect if you don't buy into the shtick or you see it early.
That's true. Also, I want to add that he used to be what you would consider a good friend to many, including helping out in many ways. If you need something, he would help you. And he was, at least appeared to be, genuine in some of his friendships. And it remains an open question of whether he considered it a true friendship or he was just playing a long game where he was, pro. But to your point, Sola, he would go for example, say that Sola said such and such behind your back, right? And then he would try to get people to speak bad about Sola behind his back, and then he would go and say, this person told you that. And this typical drama that you would expect. So he was involved in a lot of the inner, the silly fighting between groups in general. And particularly, I believe he was in the Ukraine space. So he's one of his first messages to multiple people I know was, I know some information about this charity, if you need it. And that was like, even there was no hi, it was like, I know you were interested in this. So he would talk to you and you would be like, oh, what do you know, right? And then he would get more info and then use it from the other side. So, for example, we later knew that he was leaking DMs from pro-Israeli groups to pro-Palestinian groups and the other way around, and pretending to be, their enemies on stage, and then be calling them after and as if nothing happened, as if they're friends. Of course, they all knew later that he was doing that to everyone, and that came out.
It
suddenly.
was unfortunate because it was a divide and conquer strategy, and when his whole scam fell apart, people were realizing. And Sean's not able to make it today, but he ended up reaching out to me and says like, hey, before, he went public with it, he just told me like, look, Ben is, or Darko's X, Y, and Z. And I straight up told him, I'm like, yes, I've known this the whole time. I've been telling all of you guys, but you didn't listen to me. You chose him over me. And you threw me out of the group, basically. And just like, I was black sheeped with, I'm not trying to make it about me, but a lot of people were. And that's the point I was getting at, where I'm saying for people online, be very careful who you trust immediately. If you ever have any issues with anyone, reach them directly, talk to them one-on-one. Don't listen to third parties, what they have to say about you, because I feel like that was a mistake all of us, myself included,